read tonight. I thank all of you for coming out. I see a lot of people I don't recognize. That's really nice. It's good to get some fresh faces in here. It's also good to have the old faces. Not old, but you know, significant. Never mind. It's good to have everyone here. This is the Warehouse Reading Series. I'm one of your hosts, David. We'll have another host coming in, Billy, whenever he gets here. He's literally running over from class right now. We're going to have a couple of poets reading tonight, and we're going to kind of get straight to it. I know they got a lot of good material they want to share with you, and there's no reason to hesitate to get them up here. Just a few ground rules just to remind you. This is an old place, so try not to get up and move around. The door squeaks, the door bangs, the floor squeaks, and just try to keep it quiet so that you can hear what's being presented to you. If you want to smoke, please do it outside. There will be an intermission in between the two readers, so that'll be a good time for you to get up, do what you got to do. It'll be about 5 or 10 minute intermission. But that's really all the rules. Oh, one more thing. Phone's off. There was a guy last time that had his laptop open, was typing on it. Don't do that, please. So to get started, we have the introducer to our first reader, Mike Dinkins.
Thank you guys for coming out. Anybody here? I've known Ron for about 2 years now, and in that time, frankly, I learned that Ron Salutsky's fucking terrifying. We had a friend visiting us one time who just spent about a year in Ecuador, and we were talking to her about her experiences and all the things that she had done, and Ron started asking her if it was time to harvest the yucca roots there, and then they started talking about if the rains would be coming soon, and I'm not lying, that actually happened. I have no idea how he knew that the rains were coming in Ecuador, or what plants were growing there, what people would be harvesting. But it's one of the things that makes him sort of scary to me. He knows everything. Every interaction I have with Ron is always him knowing something that I don't know, and then feeling kind of bad about it. One time he showed me a picture of Steve Almond and Cher, and I had to ask who Steve Almond was, because I am only 27 years old after all, and Ron has never ever forgiven me for it. Probably you won't either. Once I told Ron that I was going to go plant some shit in the trash heap behind the dumpster that's behind my apartment building because it looks so awful around my apartment building that sometimes I want to kill myself. Ron started by asking me how the soil tasted and what color it was. And then he named all the phyla of plants that I could put there, and he told me that when I planted them, I needed to plant them in rows that corresponded to their evolutionary tree. We talked about work one time, all the weird odd jobs we've done before we ended up here at FSU. Me fixing flats and cutting grass, all of which Ron has done. Every job I've done, Ron has done. Worked in grocery stores, fixed flats, cut grass. Once worked cutting grass with a man whose daughter I planned to marry. Ron worked with that man too, and neither of us married his daughter. Ron has served as an agitator in Napoleonic France. He was a juggler among the Inca court. He wiped hallucinogenic drops from the heads of Victorians lying in opium dens. I sat in on his undergrad class here and saw him passing around a sheet so that his students could sign away their dreams to him. Ron's poetry can be found in all the finest places. I'm sure you just have to Google his name, it'll be there. And his first book, Romeo Bones, is coming out from Steel Toe Books, hopefully very, very soon. I encourage you all to buy it. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend Ron Salutsky.
Hey everybody.
Hey Ron.
Micah just volunteered to do that about 38 seconds ago. 98 seconds, I guess, is more like it. Because I hadn't planned to have an introducer. But thank you, Micah. Let's see. I want to start with a poem by Lois Wickenhauser. And this is from Earth Prayers, 365 prayers, poems, and invocations from around the world. A good friend just gave this to me yesterday, so I thought I'd put it to use.
Sensuous during life, do not deny me in death. Wash me with scent of apple blossom. Anoint me with the essence of lilac. Fill my veins with honeysuckle nectar. Sprinkle me with perfume of purple violets. Envelop me in shroud saturated with fragrance of freshly mown meadow hay. Rest me in moss, velvet earth. Cover me with soil exuding flavor of maple and oak leaves. Command a white birch to stand guard. So that sort of fits with what Micah was talking about. Almost sickeningly so, huh? Don't you hate when Southern poets get carried away with gardening metaphors? You're planted in rows, and the seeds grow like inspiration. Okay. Because I was and I'm so glad Adam's here. Or else this will just be falling flat, lying on the floor. Deceased humor. I was the only, back in, a few months ago. I'm going to start with some new stuff. This is from my new manuscript entitled Of the Limits of Love of a Lamb's Ear. And then I'm going to move to some work from my first book, which is coming out, as Mike had said, from Steel Toe Books. That's the first time I've been able to say that on stage. So a few months ago I figured I found out that I was the only poet living who had not written a September 11 poem. But I had planned to for a decade. And then I had a near-death experience. I laid a motorcycle down over on East Lafayette, tore my shoulder out. So I'm there on the pavement, just thinking that there's got to be a car coming, and that's it. But somehow I got to the curb. And somehow the poem wanted to be about 9/11 when I started writing about it, so I'm not comparing my pain to anybody else's here. This is just the way the poem came. It's called Meditation on a Close Call, September 11th, 2012. There is a piece lying there in the gravel, all blood and bone and dust, becoming umber mud, crawling a dislocated shoulder out of noontime traffic, on the 106th floor, grabbing the hand of whoever happens to be there, whispering, "Ready." Then the mortal leap. The world spirals away from you in fire, bone grown featherly. The fall, the heavy heart softening into unforgiving concrete. The other shore laden with golden sand, blushing crustaceans, and hundreds of letters from dead relatives, wax sealed, awaiting your stainless steel letter opener's swift slip at the sill. So while I was there in the road, I had this vision that the afterlife was a beach. Not too bad. Mother's Day. I wrote this poem on Mother's Day, believe it or not, which also happened to be the anniversary of 10 years sober for me. And it also happened to be the girl that I was dating at the time. It was her birthday as well, so it was sort of this harmonic convergence on Mother's Day. And 2 poems actually came on that day, which is probably the first time ever for me. Mother's Day. Her mother prayed to an old god, untouched by instruments, so she painted what she saw. Piano lessons in the Warsaw ghetto, her love a demolished conservatory. I can write about not knowing you. I can write to draw you near. I can invent memories of the dead, incant the fleshy veneer, and I can be a son to all mothers. Guard them as they have guarded me from the world's wet insouciance, its broken bottles and falling timber, its teeth and its tang. Who shall shower wildflowers on earth but her? Who shall adore the hidden violet but her? Who shall sleep in the woods under fungal logs with blind worms and baby copperheads but her? There, she cuffs me at the end of my sentence in her earthen vulva. So we do like 6 poems. This one's called Taxidermy. Oh, and I should be showing you. Here's what it looks like. Yeah, the stanzas sort of flip around, right? When you hear sheet of wildness, you'll know that the stanzas do this thing. Like in the... Hey, what's up? Taxidermy. This is what love must be like. The slow incision, the deflated skin, the precise untangling of innards drained of blood and shed, the body hung up to cool out, the cats drawing in, snouts pecking the air, and later the hide stripped, hammered, tanned, petrified sheet of wildness hitting cars, ruining corn crops, imbalance ringing like rifle report along Elm Ridge in deadly December, sky snow heavy and air piss thin, no love to remember, only squandered light, the anxious dusk darkening the gray trees. Hung up the deer to let it cool out. I always like that verb, cool out. I learned that one in Virginia. Where the deers, well, you don't hit deers in the car, they just sideswipe you. Okay, in memory of Neil Armstrong. Blue moon, can we just pretend we're in love and write letters like fallen mulberry leaves stippling the late fall driveway with lines like, I'll never see the same side of the moon you see. Or when the solar eclipse's epicenter comes to Sinking Fork, Kentucky in 2017, maybe after a rainy summer and a lucky third cut of hay, when no one's killing horses for lack of feed, can we find a bay Appaloosa to ride together along coffee-muddy Whetstone Creek down off Pond Ridge Road, where a violent silence overtakes us, surrounded by the locusts clacking that longing's endless distance has at last ceased there amid the wet sycamores and underfed mosquitoes trolling the goldenrod. Let them have our blood. Let them inject you with me and me with you. Look, dear, the moon is blue and there's someone up there walking on it. Good night, Neil. Goodbye. We never met. And this one is called 10 Square Miles. I don't know why. This could be called Ode to Manti Te'o, I think. I feel for the dude. Who among us hasn't had a weird longing? That Rose having a weird longing, right? And God bless you for it. They're free, why not? Weird longing for sale. 10 square miles. No, really. 10 square miles. Your father drove a red Chevy stepside when you were a little girl, and you liked to hang on the tailgate as he pulled up the driveway, back when you didn't know people had pasts of needles and beetles and cunts and guns, back when sex and war flashed their obtuse shapes, then hid behind our fumbled understanding of the world with its dead bodies and live bodies all writhing in our dreams and behind the boudoir door. And now, when you show me your scars, a little Vermont-shaped pink spot from cellulitis along your instep, and the burns on your wrist from spilled cavatappi that's clung to you like a living thing with a will to wound you, all I can think is how I was not there. And I want to take a soft towel and wipe away the scar, now a deepening sienna, from reading Rimbaud in the sun. So I take your hand and use your index finger to point to the first leaves of tiger lilies that you can't quite make out breaking through the soil by the Senna. Yesterday, as I lay in the Tallahassee grass looking up, the low clouds moving made the high clouds seem to roll into the sun, though it only got brighter and brighter until my own arm scars tingled with heat. And I had a vision you were there in a bone-white sundress with the sea in hand, and a mint-sprigged lemon water. And when I turned to look through the blue spots floating all around, I saw it, a plastic chair, a wasp landing on its arm, seduced, no doubt, by the bright sunny green. Okay, on to old stuff, and this is about, oh, here's what that one looks like. A seven-line stanza. Let's see. This is what this one looks like. 4 pages, and then I'm out of here. I do need to thank David and Billy for hosting this deal, and for the good things that they're doing this semester with multimedia and such. They're really putting in the work, and I think maybe when this is all, before we leave here, let's give them a big hand. You're doing a lot better than my lazy ass did last semester. Okay. So we'll call this Panhandle triptych, although in 3 parts, that's what triptych is. But I'm only going to do the first part. And I need some howling. Ow! A little bit. All right. Okay, get everybody out. It's good. So every time you hear coyote, I want you to howl. And the first word of the poem is coyote. All right, a little test there. Doing great. 1. Coyote slides through palmettos among stray moon rays, destined to find skin to take him in, soil from which grain grew and bread arose. A winter of lust weaves through the wheat that sleeps beneath a waking pollen tide. All children are born in spring, all poems conceived on Monday. By and by the Sabbath arrives, and we've earned the right to name them. I awoke this morning a full day since I found the dead man's belongings in a dumpster. I found it odd how he potted his plants with marbles in the soil. How strange the roots must have found them. How the roots' detours as they fumbled around in the dark for moisture made them appear to clutch the marbles. From now on, I will pot all my plants with marbles in the soil in remembrance of the Dutch dead man. Lived in the apartment below, and must surely have heard me fuck, must surely have felt as if he knew me from the howling, must have resented me at times for walking late across the floor to get some juice. How can I repay the dead man for his kitchen utensils, for his brown rice, for his aloe, for his brazen lesson in hospital theory, for his Dutch dictionary says death is dood, says not necessarily in this order. The desert willow dropped its last bloom last night onto the wood bridge, and the sleep of sorrow has seeped into the thrush's dreams. No longer will the word of God inspire our slumbering misgivings, nor will our dreams be believed to be real. The willow still stands, though it sways, naked and flanked by spiny ocotillos. Meanwhile, somewhere south of Quincy, ponds swell in the lowlands, and the catalpa enjoys its rain. Men with long poles hanging out of short trucks drive up and down the country roads, looking for unclaimed catalpas, eager to shake worms from their trees. On a good dry July day, they fetch upward of 10 cents apiece. Smallmouth swarm. Coyote cannot survive on catalpa worms nor the fish that is caught thereby. The meat that feeds the coyote mind. The experience of saviors, of saints, of sirloin, Cesar Chavez, and migrant baraceros holding valid Florida operators' licenses, collecting in the neighborhoods, corners of the sulking city, frying tilapia mercilessly, intact backbones broadening the day with hazy smiles. Hey Blanca, peso for your dreams. Change the landscape of doing, change the life of the product. I know from being the only white man in the Panhandle to do work with a mattock that a stone is a piedra, and when you hit one, keep hitting one, keep trying to extricate its bloodless pulse from the earth, that all you can say as you strike and strike and strike and strike and strike is piedra. And the stone will never answer you, will never bleed, will never offer compensation, will never be worth much to tourists, will never be less at home in the ground than you are, will never change. I know I will never cease to be nothing, and when time has hardened my arteries, I will remain nothing in the great nothing that nothing is. Remaining is nothing.
All right, give it up one more time for Coyote Ron.